Hi, I'm Carl Franklin. In this episode of Blazor Train, I'll show you how you can use SignalR and a little know-how to let users answer live poll questions and show the results in real time. There are numerous ways to do this, of course, but I'm going to focus on a live stream scenario where you want to interact with your audience by asking questions and aggregating their responses. You will be shocked to see how easy it is to actually do real-time polling. And that's coming up right now, right here on Blazor Train. See, I can do that. Blazor Train. All right, so before we talk about polling, the thing that makes this work is overlays. And an overlay is something with a transparent background that goes on top of your main picture or your main display that shows something. And so there's a couple of ways that you can do this. You can do it in HTML with CSS. That's the first thing I'm going to show you. And then I'll show you how to make a Blazor page with a transparent background. And you can use that in any streaming software such as OBS or, in my case, vMix. And if all goes well, we'll have a live demo too. So I've started with this Blazor server project called Overlay Demo. And all the projects are going to be Blazor server today. And the reason is we're using SignalR. And rather than having to get into CORS, CORS, cross-origin resource sharing, I wanted to make sure that we don't have any security issues. And that's a completely different topic. Let's just make sure that everything works and it's all good. So I've got main layout Razor up here, and I'm simply going to remove all this stuff and replace it with just body. I don't want to have a nav bar. I don't want to have a title bar. I just want a body. And here's some HTML and CSS that illustrates how to do overlays. So I've got a style for overlay, and I've got an iframe where I'm hosting a YouTube video, and we're going to pretend that it's a live broadcast, even though it's not. And then I've got my overlay div right here, and this is going to go over the iframe because it's absolutely positioned. And we've got some padding on the top and on the left. So let's talk about time string, which is what we're displaying. So I've got a timer here, and I'm setting it to be a 1 second interval. And I'm setting time string to date time now, long time string. So here's what it looks like. All right, here's my YouTube video. And yep, guess what? This is a promo of the band. Here we go. So that shows you that I've got a live YouTube, and I've got the ability to put HTML, or in this case, live Blazor dynamic content, right on top of the video somewhere. Now, this could be a live video, a YouTube live stream, if you will, but it's a subtly different architecture than what I'm going to end up with. This requires that you have a new website that people will go to watch your video that doesn't have all the other stuff that the YouTube site has, such as the chat and the comments and all of that stuff in the other videos, right? So this is different. This is a little bit different than what I want. I just wanted to show you that first to illustrate the potential of what you can do with overlays. So now let's talk about how to make any Blazor application transparent and therefore use the whole app as an overlay. So right here in _host CS_HTML, I'm going to replace my body tag with this. And now you can see the background color is set to FFFFFF00, which means transparent. So now that we have that, let's change our index. All right, so now I've taken out all that styling stuff, and I've just got a div and font weight bold, color red, and I'm showing the time string. So now if I run this, you're not going to see any transparency because the background of the browser is white. But you do see this, right? So now I'm going to show you what it looks like when it's running on my machine. There you go. Now I'm actually running this locally. It's a local application, and I'm recording this locally with vMix. OBS is the same way, and you can essentially use a web page as an input. And so what I've done is I've browsed to that local web page, and I've shown the time overlaid on top of whatever I'm presenting. Okay, now this is pre-recorded, but we will have a live demo coming up here very soon. Trust me, it's going to be awesome. All right, we'll turn that off. And now let's start talking about polling. So in order to do polling, what we want is an application that has a SignalR Hub in it, right? Where we can send a message to that hub that says, hey, I want to send a question out to anyone who's listening to this hub, anyone who's subscribed to it. And the listener is a client application. It's going to be a web application that people can run on their phones. And when I send a question through this hub app, all the clients will see the question, and the answer options will just be yes and no. We're going to keep it simple. And whichever button they click, a message will be sent back to the SignalR Hub to register that as a response. And then a third application, which will be our overlay application, will also be listening to those responses. And when we get a response, we're going to formulate some sort of display that will show in real time how many yeses and how many nos were selected. So the results of the poll, essentially. Now that we know what we're doing, let's add a new project to this solution to be our admin app. Now this app, SignalR Poll Hub app, is also a Blazor server app. They're all Blazor server apps here. So SignalR as a service is already built into Blazor server applications. It's just an ASP.NET Core web app. But we also want to act as a client because we're going to be sending stuff to the hub. So let's add SignalR client. SignalR server is built in. SignalR client is not. So we have to add that. Now let's go to our index page. Change that. All right, so we're going to send a yes or no poll question. We have an input tag here. And we're bound to this question string right there. And we have a button to submit the question, but let's talk about the hub. Now, notice we're injecting the navigation manager here too, right? So on initialized async, our hub URL we're getting from the base URI of the navigation manager and poll hub. And we haven't even created the poll hub yet. We'll do that in a minute. Then we're going to create the hub connection and start it. When we click the submit question button, we're going to invoke on the hub connection a method called send yes no question and pass the question. And then we'll set the question to nothing so it goes away. Now we have to add that poll hub. So let's do that now. So here I've got a send yes no question. That's what we were just looking at. Passes the question. And it sends a message receive yes no question with the question to all the other clients. You see that? Clients.others.sendAsync receive yes no question, pass the question. Now the clients are going to display the question and have a yes and no button. Depending on which they click, they will call this send yes no answer, passing the question and their answer whether it's true or false. And we're going to send that back to everybody else with a message receive yes no answer. So this is just our hub. So this is the main place where all the communication goes through. And if you're not clear about SignalR, go back and watch the SignalR show. So let's go to Startup. We need to add some services here. Services.add SignalR. Now this is for the server side, not for the client side. And we also have to map the hub as an endpoint. So here, map hub of poll hub to /poll hub. So whatever our application is /poll hub, that gets rerouted to this guy right here where he can handle these requests. Now, just for fun, let's set SignalR Poll Hub app to the startup project, and we'll go to our Poll Hub and put a breakpoint right here, and we'll run it and see if we hit that breakpoint when we send a question. Do you like cats? And there it is. And the question is, do you like cats? I know you can't see it. It's very faint, but it's right there. Do you like cats? All right, so now that we know we can at least hit the hub from within the hub application, let's build the client. So I'm going to add a new project, Blazor server app, called SignalR Poll Client App. So in this guy, we also have to use the SignalR client. So we'll add that. And we'll modify our index razor. Now the hub URL is important here because this is an entirely different application. We need to get that number right. We're still only working in localhost. Once we deploy this, it's going to be a little bit different, isn't it? So we need to know what that number is for our server app. So let's go to the server app. Well, they're all server apps, aren't they? But let's go to the hub app and open up the properties and launch settings JSON right there. And now you can see the SSL port right there. Copy that into the clipboard, 44324, and that replaces this number right here. So now the client is connected to the right application. So what we have here is a question, which is a string. And the question we're going to receive with this code right here, hubconnection.on string, because that's our only argument. Receive yes, no question. It's going to be async. Here's the question. We'll set our question equal to this question, and we'll refresh. So up in the markup, if the question is not an empty string, because that's how it's initialized, then we're going to show, whatever the question is, and then a button for yes and a button for no. Submit yes, submit no. Otherwise, if the question is an empty string, we're going to show this waiting for a question. Submit yes. We're going to invoke send yes, no answer with the question and true. And if no, send yes, no answer with the question and false. Pretty simple. All right, we could run it right here, but we're not going to really see any results. So let's go modify our overlay demo, which is the first one I showed you, to handle SignalR also. And guess what? We're going to use the DevExpress Blazor chart control to show a real-time pie chart with the results that updates, as I said, in real time with the results of the poll. So how do we do that? Well, we go to Manage NuGet Packages, and we're going to select DevExpress and browse. And of course, you have to have a DevExpress license for this, but we're going to just search for Blazor. DevExpress Blazor right there. We'll install that. And I always go through the package manager, the NuGet package manager for this, because if you take a look, we've added this startup.devexpresscs class, which is absolutely necessary. And you don't get that if you're just going into overlay demo and adding DevExpress Blazor here. But we're not quite done. We got to go to _host and add the style sheet. I'm also going to change the render mode to server. This seems like a good time to talk about the difference between server and server pre-rendered. Pre-rendering is the default, and the idea is that it gets an HTML representation of whatever the main page is to the user faster. And then once all the elements are in place on the server, then the actual HTML is replaced with live elements that react to clicks and whatnot. But I find that for a Blazor server application, unless it's really, really thick and really, really heavy, server is just fine without pre-rendering. Pre-rendering comes with a little bit of an issue in that your lifecycle methods will execute multiple times. And so it kind of wreaks havoc with stuff like JavaScript, and if you're doing any kind of loading of data on initialized async, then that's going to happen twice. So, yeah, I don't know. You need to experiment with these things. But I found in this particular demo, it works better if I don't use pre-rendering. All right, now we need to add some stuff to imports. A couple of using statements. I'm going to put my SignalR client down in here, DevExpress Blazor and DevExpress Charts native. And now let's completely change the index. So I've got a style here to help me fit the chart control within a couple of divs so that it doesn't take up the entire width of the screen. So this is the DX chart control, comes from DevExpress. And I've bound it to this list of a class called answer for chart answers, which is different than my answer class, which is what I'm going to create locally. You'll see that in a minute. You know, to tell you the truth, it doesn't read very well right here, but it does make sense once you understand what these classes are. So I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom and show you the classes. So I have an answer object, just a single answer object here. We're only dealing with one question at a time. So I have the question, and I have the yes count and the no count. And every time I get a yes response, I increment the yes count, and the same with the no count. And now I have this answer for chart because it needs to be in a way where data can be aggregated so the chart can understand it. So what I essentially create is a list of answer for chart that has exactly two items, one for yes, one for no. So this string here, yes or no, will either be yes or no. Here's the question, and then here's the quantity. So long story short, I just had to set it up this way. So how do I convert that? Well, before I show you that, let's talk about receive yes, no answer. So here's my question and my answer value. I have my current answer, which is defined up here, initialized to null. And if it is null, I'm going to create a new one. Otherwise, if the question is different, we're resetting everything. So I'm changing the yes count to 0, no count to 0. I set the question, no matter what it is. And if the answer value is true, I increment yes count, otherwise increment no count. And I set the question. Okay, now let's talk about converting it. Chart answers, which is what I have bound my chart to. Chart answers is going to have two answer for chart objects, one for yes and one for no. So I'm essentially converting my answer, current answer, into a list of answer for chart with two items in it. Now, before we can run this, we have to make sure that all three of these applications run at the same time. So I'm going to go to the solution properties, to multiple startup projects, and I'm going to select start for each one of these projects. See that? Now when I hit run, they'll all come up. All right, so these are my three applications. Here's my admin app that has the hub in it. Here's the client app. And then here's the overlay app that's going to display the chart. So let's send a question. Do you like cats? I'm going to copy that into the clipboard because I want to send it multiple times. So say I'm running this on my phone. I get this question. Do you like cats? Do you like cats? Yes. And I have 1 for yes and 0 for no. Well, let's send it again. This time I'll say no. Now I've got half and half. Let's say no again. Now there's 2 no's to 1 yes. You get the idea here, right? The anti-cat people are definitely winning. Yikes, did I say that out loud? And I believe I'm in the way here again. Okay, so you can see it now, right? Let me do this. Okay. So this is the essential architecture. Now, wouldn't it be cool if we could do a live demo? Yes, we can. And that is my cue. I'm here live with the people who are watching the stream live, but if you came to this video after it's all been recorded after September 14th, 2021 at 2 p.m. Eastern, you're just watching. So I want everybody watching this live to go to their phone and go to poll.pwop.me. Now don't enter https poll.pwop.me, just poll.pwop.me, and it'll bring up a client app. And I'm going to wait until I get a signal from at least a couple of people saying that they've got it up and running. Because what I'm going to do is I'm running this here locally through Azure, and I'm going to send you a question. And if all goes well, we'll see the answers on the screen. So go to poll.pwop.me with your phone. Should only take a second. And when I see the first go sign in the live chat, I will send the question. Do 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 do. Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? Bueller? This could make a very long and boring video if you guys don't participate. This is a live demo. Looks like I may have to do it myself. So I'm going to send the question. Showed up on my phone. Now you can't see it because all of that. Oh, we do have an answer. I'm going to answer. And it looks like we've got 1 and 1 already. Look at that. Cool. Oh, now we've got a couple more no's. All right, so that concludes the live demo. Okay. Well, I hope you enjoyed this demo. This code will be available at blazortrain.com very shortly if it isn't already. And I hope you learned something today. Back to you in the studio, Carl. You know, OBS has a way to import a website as a widget input. vMix, which is the tool I use, has the same feature. I'm not sure about Zoom, but you can definitely use Zoom as an input to OBS or vMix, and then you're off to the races. Also, some virtual webcam apps will let you overlay web content. So the good news is that Blazor gives you everything you need to make transparent pages that you can either overlay on a live video or use in a production app like OBS to provide dynamic content, such as the results of a poll. Hey, thanks for riding the rails with me today. This is where I jump off. I'll see you next time. Blaze a trail.